Hi friends, it's Vervain, and today I'd like to tell you a story. This is a story about beauty, experimentation, failure, and discovery through serendipity. And I guess we come full circle to beauty. So anyhow, this is my polka dot plant, this is the second cutting that I've taken of my polka dot plant. I only took cuttings because my main polka dot plant was getting really leggy and I felt like I should cut it back a little. So I took some cuttings of it, and one of them was really beautiful for a long time, developed a lot of roots, and then developed a couple flowers, and I was really excited about it. And then I looked it up and I heard that apparently they only develop flowers like once they finish their flowering cycle, they go dormant or potentially die. And so now I don't really know what to do about it. And now my main plant has been flowering, and now this cutting has also been flowering, and now the first cutting that had all those beautiful roots and was the first to flower definitely looks like it's dying, and I don't know if there's anything that I can do about it, and it makes me kind of sad. Also, I didn't know that this was a polka dot plant until after I brought it home. I had a nerve plant a long time ago in a plant pot that I had painted with a face on it, and his name was Boris, and so the nerve plant's name was Boris. And I loved the nerve plant because I have the sort of neurodivergence that makes it really difficult to care for myself, let alone other things and other creatures. And caring for a baby is kind of different, it turns out, because the baby will definitely let you know when they need something. You cannot ignore a baby when they say they need something. But I am an expert at ignoring myself when my body or my mind tells me that I need something. I'm really trying to unlearn that skill. And I've also, some plants over the years have had the misfortune to be my guinea pigs for my experiment of learning how to care for other living beings. And actually, over the years, I have gotten better at this. And I loved having a nerve plant, because my nerve plant would let me know very clearly when it did not have enough water by wilting very dramatically, very quickly. And then I would give it water, and then it would perk right up within an hour. And it was so cool, because I was like, thank you for communicating with me. I will happily give you what you need. Thank you so much for letting me know what you needed. Here you go. Now you can be healthy and we can still be friends. And I had always seen for sale next to the nerve plants these polka dot plants, and I just thought they were pink nerve plants. And I didn't know about them when I got my first nerve plant, or I probably would have just gotten one of these in the first place, and then I might never have learned to love nerve plants, because these are quite different to care for, it turns out. Apparently they are pretty closely related, but they do not have the same behavior of wilting dramatically the second they need water and then springing back to life the second you water them. And then there's this whole flowering thing that complicates the situation. And basically what I'm saying is, if you have ever cared for polka dot plants successfully, I would love some advice in the comments. Please tell me what to do. I've been picking the flowers off, but I don't know if this is enough. And also it makes me sad to pick the flowers off. It feels wrong. And my Venus flytrap I've had for at least 3 years now, because this is the third time that it's bloomed. And I remember the first time it bloomed being like, what? I had no idea that Venus flytraps could bloom, and looking it up and finding out that a lot of people say to cut off the flower buds and not let your Venus flytrap bloom because they want it to focus on the whatever you call the part of the plant that eats flies, and that like when it's focusing on flowering it can't do that as well, which does appear to be true. But it just felt to me like, no, like the flowering is really special and it's an important part of its life cycle, and I need to let it do it. So I've let it do it. It's been 3 years and my Venus flytrap is still happy. So that's cool. And so I don't know, like if I just let my polka dot plant flower, will it be okay? If I take the flowers off, will it die anyway and I should just leave the flowers on and let it live its life the way it was always meant to? Is it actually an annual, or can I, if I treat it well, will it live for a long time? Like, I feel like so many things are actually perennials, but they're called annuals because they're grown in the wrong climate or whatever. So anyhow, I want advice. And I decided that I would try to paint my polka dot plant in my junk journal. Because it's beautiful and I love her and she's gorgeous and she deserves to be painted. She deserves to have her portrait painted. And I had come across on, I think it was like Facebook Reels. I do not know which artist it was. Maybe it was YouTube Shorts. I don't know. Some sort of short form video content where some watercolor artist, I'm so sorry, I don't remember his name. I'm pretty sure it was a man, was showing a technique where they were painting like a flower garden, and they painted the flowers first and then went over the flowers with white crayon so that they could then paint like the leaves and the rest of the garden around the flowers and not lose the crispness of that first color, those little details. And I don't have crayons, but I thought, well, I have lots of beeswax, so I'll use some beeswax to do this resist. And as you can see, because I did I painted that bottom right leaf first after I beeswaxed all of the pink bits, it did not work. 0% success rate with the beeswax resist. And I don't know if that's because like beeswax is just harder than crayon and so not enough of it got on, or what. I don't know why it is. So anyhow, after that, I thought I would try some glue. So I used my art glitter glue, which is what's in that little precision tip bottle. Art glitter is the brand. It's not glitter glue. It's a paper glue. It's my favorite paper glue. I'll put the link in the comments if you want to try it out. I've talked about it in probably like almost every junk journaling video because I love it so much. It dries super fast. It dries way faster when you have like paper to paper. So it did dry a little slower in this instance because I was just putting it on the pink spots and then letting it dry. And as you may have noticed, I got my heat gun involved. And then you can see there's, I did another experiment that I don't really like how it turned out, because I did that middle leaf that I'm painting right now. I did that with the glue first, and then there was like too much glue on it. So I picked it up with my finger and like daubed it onto the pink of the leaf to the left of it. And you can see that the pink splotches on that bottom left leaf are like really like round and not as beautifully irregular as the other ones are. And that's because they were daubed on with my finger. So I don't like how that turned out. I'm also not really like a huge fan of how the pink spots are three-dimensional and shiny because of the glue, but your girl had to do something to make this work. I was committed, I was all in, and I just really wanted to paint this polka dot plant. So I did. These watercolors, by the way, these are the best watercolors I have ever used. And they are Renaissance Polska is the brand, and they're not from the US. And I think the only way you can get them in the US is through, there's an importer on Etsy. I don't have any sort of like affiliate link or anything for that, but these are the best watercolors I've ever used. I probably did not need to buy as many colors as I did, but I was in a phase of my life where I was like, I had just had a miscarriage and I was really focusing on creating and putting my creative energy towards myself. And I was also kind of in this mindset of like, well, when I have a baby, I'll have to quit my job and then I won't have disposable income probably ever again. So right now, while I have disposable income, I'm going to spend it on nice art supplies and things for myself. And so I bought the expensive watercolors, and I bought pretty much as many of them as I wanted. No regrets. So yeah, I'm not like I don't feel like I was able to mix the pink to the perfect shade, and I feel like that's partially because that like the magenta color that I started with, I think has more purple in it than, like, I started with that one because that's the closest to the color that I wanted, but I think because of the amount of purple it has in it, or the amount of like blue undertone that it has in it, I was just unable to get to the like pure Pepto-Bismol polka dot plant pink that I really wanted. Because it's just always a little bit berry toned, and the plant is not berry toned. It's really Pepto-Bismol Barbie pink. So I feel like if I were to do this again, I would mix the color differently. Okay, so here I had another thought. So I swatched some of the green watercolor that I mixed up for the leaves onto this watercolor paper here. And that's an embossing ink pen. So it writes with a clear, sticky ink, and then you put the embossing powder on it, and you use a heat gun to melt the embossing powder, and it's basically made of like powdered, I don't know, like powdered hot glue and pigment, basically, I want to say, something like that. So that when you heat it up, it like melts onto the paper and becomes this three-dimensional, shiny embossing stuff. So I did that, and I was kind of happy with how that turned out. And I thought, well, okay, maybe I'll try another method of creating a polka dot plant. I just painted this polka dot plant. Now I'm going to just paint a whole bunch of green watercolor paper. And then I will emboss a bunch of pink splotches onto the green watercolor paper. And then I'll cut those out into leaf shapes and like build like a collage polka dot plant. That was my thought. And then that like blue at the top is just because I'm using Payne's gray to mix the green, and I ended up with a lot of extra Payne's gray on my brush that I couldn't get off, and I didn't want to waste it because it's really beautiful. So I put it on there. And at this point I'm thinking, wow, this kind of looks like a really beautiful landscape. Maybe I should use it that way. And then I was like, no, we're going to keep going with the plan, and we're going to use the embossing ink pen to draw out all these little splotchies. Now, if I was to do this again, I think I would probably cut out my leaf shapes first, or at least draw my leaf shapes first and like pencil how I was going to cut them, and then do the splotchies. Because if you notice, the polka dot plant always has like a completely green outline of the leaf. Like there's never any pink, at least that I've noticed, on the actual edge of the leaf. And the way that I did it like this, where you're just like creating an all over pattern, then cutting leaves out from it, you're always going to end up with some pink splotches on the edge of a leaf. And I think it would have looked better. This is so satisfying, this part, watching the embossing powder go on. Oh my goodness. I love it so much. Embossing powder is very satisfying. I don't actually love this color. It was called rose gold when I ordered it, and I thought I was going to use it for my wedding invitations, and then I went so I ordered like 2 or 3 of them, at least 2 of them. Maybe only 2, because I don't have another one. So if I had 3, I got rid of 1. And then it turns out that it's just kind of like blush pink and not actually like rose gold. And then also I just went a completely different direction for my wedding invitations. So I never used any of it for that. So while it's not my favorite embossing powder that I have, I'm always kind of like looking for excuses to use it. And this felt like a good one. So yes, here I am activating the embossing powder with the heat gun to try and get it. And you'll see here, and at this point, again, I'm like, wow, this actually looks like a beautiful like wildflower landscape. Maybe I should do that. And then it's kind of like cool how the texture and colors of the wildflower landscape mirrors the texture and colors of the polka dot plant. And then I thought, nope, we're going with the original plan. We're cutting out leaves. And then after I cut out a couple of leaves, I decided I did not want to go that direction. And I still kept these leaves, and I may still do something like this again at some point, because I do kind of like the idea. Although I do think I would do it the way I described again, where I would get the leaf shapes first and then make it so that the embossing is not on the edges of each leaf, like do it inside the leaf shape. Okay, so then I tried to paint some birds because I thought, I've been doing a lot of like bird watching and birding and stuff, and maybe we'll just represent that with some birds. But I forgot to like wipe off the side of my paintbrush first, so the water was just like soaking down into the tip of the paintbrush and making my bird way too fat and totally unrecognizable. So I got rid of it completely. And then I decided that I didn't like the shape of the like oval that I'd cut out because it was like slightly wonky, so I cut it to be narrower, and then of course I decided I liked it better before, but it was too late, so I glued it down. And you can see these flower stamps that came through from the other side of the page, which I worked on in a previous episode. And I thought, I want a moon, so I cut out that gel print to be a moon, and I was just like, that's way too bright yellow to be a moon for this clearly evening sky, or stormy sky at least. And then, so I decided the yellow would be a sun, and then wouldn't you know, I just happened to have the perfect size moon hanging out on my table that I'd kind of been thinking about using for something else, but in the end, I'm glad that I used it for this. And then I thought it's time to add some words, so I went through this sheet of like sticker phrases, and I love all of these sticker phrases. They're always so inspiring when I look at them, but when I go to like pick one out for something I've already made, never. There's like almost never any that I actually want to use for what I've created. So I decided to write out some lyrics from one of my own songs. This song is out. It's on my album Wildflowers. I think it's the second or third song on the album. It's called Drunk on the Tune. And maybe I'll just insert a little bit of it here for you. I'm gonna get a copyright strike for including my own friggin' music, but whatever. Maybe if I get monetized / when I get monetized, I'll appeal the copyright strikes that are against me for my own music. I don't know if it's a better deal to have my YouTube video monetized as a YouTube creator, or to have my music monetized as a singer-songwriter, producer, recording artist, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna shut up. I want to listen to this. Digging my toes into the dirt. I'm drunk on the moon. I'm robed all in green. I'm drunk on the feeling of feeling seen. And every chance I get some air. And every chance I get, I let down all of my hair. And as I sit among the mustard and vervain, I ask the wind whence came the love, and came the love in vain. I'm drunk on the sun, I'm drunk on the rain. Oh wind, won't you tell me whence came the pain? So at this point, I was feeling like the left side was looking a little bit empty, and I remembered that I had this little tiny little tiny lounging lady who would be just the perfect shape to lean up against the stem of my polka dot plant, which is now either a giant polka dot plant or she's a teeny tiny fairy lady. I'm gonna go with she's a teeny tiny fairy lady. I should have given her wings. It's not too late. Maybe I'll go back and give her wings. So I stained her with my coffee ink. Coffee's the name of the color. It's not made from coffee. And then I painted her dress with the leftover pink paint that I had from doing the little pink splotches on the polka dot plant. And by this time, I had kind of like made peace with my creations here. Like, did any of this come out the way that I intended? Did it go the way that I wanted? No. But do I like it anyway? Yes. What does it all mean? I don't know. It's art. Does it have to mean anything? Does it have to be perfect? Like, this one really was about the process. It really was about the process, not the product. But also, I like the product. But I think more importantly, I learned a lot about techniques that I tried and would like to try in the future during the process. And I had fun playing with paint and glue and paper and pictures and scissors and pens. And isn't that the whole point of creative journaling / art journaling / junk journaling? This is definitely like leaning towards the art journaling side of junk journaling, but I feel like it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be whatever you want, because it's about the process. The product is just a fun added bonus. And I think, like, I did not mean to end up with this beautiful wildflower landscape, but I honestly really love it. And that is the beauty of serendipity. And you can only really achieve these sort of serendipitous discoveries when the things that you try don't turn out the way that you intend, right? You only get happy accidents when you get accidents. So anyhow, thanks for being here with me. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you're still here, I know that you enjoyed this enough to subscribe. So why don't you hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed yet? And if you are subscribed already, thank you so much for being here. I am so grateful for you, and you are so cool. Okay, anyhow, love you. See you in the next one. Bye.